Today, we're gonna see some of this. And some of whatever that is. And these are a pretty big deal. But today's big idea is even bigger, because today's big idea is God protects us. All right, I'll move my knight here. Good move, but not good enough. My pawn takes your knight. Oh no! I move this rook here. I'll take that. Oh, protect the queen! Protect the queen! You gotta protect her better than that, because this bishop is mine. Oh, get out of there, queen. They're not protecting you at all. Bad move, bro. You focused on the wrong player and left your king wide open. And that's game. Oh, hey there, Kids Club. I'm T, and that other guy was me, but a virtual me. So I guess we can just call him VT. We were just playing a game called chess. The objective is to move the pieces around the board and capture the other player's pieces. Now, if you capture the other player's king, you win. Now, all of these pieces are tasked with protecting one piece. That's the king. Oh, I love this game. It makes me have to use my brain, and oh, it's fun when you can play with someone else, even if that someone is a virtual you. Hey VT, hey, what's up? I had a thought. Lay it on me. What if we play reverse chess? I've never heard of that. Well, that's because I just made it up. Oh, makes sense. Tell me more. Well, instead of all of these pieces trying to protect one piece, what if this one piece was tasked with protecting all the rest of the pieces? That sounds interesting, possibly fun, but also impossible. Have a little faith, buddy. I'm not doubting your brilliant and beautiful mind. I'm just saying it doesn't seem possible. No one can protect everyone. But there is someone who can protect everyone, no matter how many enemies they face. We aren't talking about the game anymore, are we? Nope. Call me when you want to talk games. Wow, never thought I'd ditch myself. Oh well, good thing you all are still here. I got the idea for reverse chess from God. God is the king of everything, but we aren't tasked with protecting him. Nope, it's the other way around. God protects us. He does this because he created us and he loves us. Now, we aren't perfect. In fact, we all mess up a lot, and sometimes we sin. Sin is when we make wrong choices that go against what God says. But even though we sin, God will still protect us. There's a man in the Bible named Daniel who did his best not to sin. He proved that he trusted, praised, and loved God with all of his heart. Now, when Daniel was faced with some trouble, God showed up in a big way. I thought you were gone. I was, but I love this story. Let's check it out.
God's story, Daniel. So part of God's story is about a guy named Daniel, and it goes like this. Daniel was a Jew, which means he was part of God's special family. But when he was a young man, a king called Nebuchadnezzar, let's call him Nezer, came in from the city of Babylon and took over. He chose the smartest, strongest, most handsome Jewish men to leave their home and come work for him in his palace. One of those young men was Daniel. Even though most people in Babylon didn't follow God, Daniel and his friends did. So they had to figure out how to obey God and serve the king. For starters, they had to go through a training program where they were fed royal food. The problem was, King Nezer had also offered that food to idols or false gods. And since they followed God, they wanted nothing to do with idols. So, Daniel had an idea. He asked the chief of the king's staff if he and his friends could eat vegetables and water for 10 days instead. If they got too weak or skinny, they'd eat something else. Well, guess what? God made them even stronger than the men who ate royal food. God gave Daniel extra understanding, too. In fact, a few years later, the king had a nightmare. Nobody knew what it meant. Daniel told King Nezer that he would ask God to show him. God did. After that, King Nezer adored Daniel. He even said God was pretty great, which was a big deal, because the king didn't even think about God before that. But soon, he made it hard for Daniel to follow God again. That's because the king built a huge gold statue of himself, 90 feet tall. Anybody who didn't bow down to it would be thrown into a furnace. This time, Daniel's friends were the ones in trouble. Their names were Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. They told the king, "The God whom we serve is able to save us. But even if he doesn't, we will never worship the gold statue you've set up." So they got sent into the fire. Well, pretty soon the king looked into the furnace and noticed that there were 4 men, and they were walking around. An angel of the Lord was protecting Daniel's friends. They got out alive and didn't even smell like smoke. God didn't stop them from getting punished, but he did go through it with them. The king had never seen a God who would rescue like that. Afterwards, King Nezer didn't mind if Daniel and his friends worshipped God, but the king still worshipped idols too. So God sent him another dream, and Daniel told him what it meant. King Nezer would live in a field and eat grass like a cow for 7 years. In other words, he'd go crazy until he realized that God is the only one we should worship. Kids, God doesn't want everybody to worship whoever they want. He wants everybody to worship him. Anyway, Daniel kept working for other kings of Babylon, even after King Nezer. God continued to help him understand dreams and visions. And even though he had to give a lot of bad news, Daniel did excellent work, and he was really well liked by the kings. In fact, one king named Darius liked Daniel so much that others got jealous. They tried to get Daniel in trouble. But they knew the only way to do that was to make a law against God. They suggested that everybody pray only to King Darius. That made the king feel important, so he made it a law. Anybody who disobeyed would spend the night in a den of lions. Daniel kept right on praying, though, and when King Darius found out, he was sad. He didn't want to punish Daniel, but now it was the law. He said, "May your God whom you serve faithfully rescue you." And guess what? God did! He sent an angel to shut the lions' mouths. Daniel served 4 important kings, and he followed God. But whenever it came down to obeying God or the king, Daniel chose God every time, no matter what. And even though Daniel had to do some really hard things, God was always with him. And that's the story of Daniel. So in case you missed it, here's the quick version. Daniel was taken to Babylon. He asked for vegetables. God made him strong. God gave Daniel understanding. Daniel's friends obeyed God instead of the king. They got punished. God rescued them. Daniel understood more dreams. He was the king's favorite. Others got jealous. Daniel obeyed God instead of the king. He got punished. God rescued him. Daniel served God no matter what. And that's a part of God's story.
That story was amazing. You ain't lying.
Yes, I am.
You are what? Oh, you're dressed up like a lion. Okay, no, I mean, you ain't lying like you're telling the truth. Never mind. It must have been scary to be thrown in a lion's den with a big old scary lion. But because God protects us, he kept Daniel safe from harm. And like Daniel, God can protect you too. It's great to have a God who protects us and loves us every day. Hey, how about you all discuss with someone close about ways that God has protected you? And when we get back, my friend May will get to show you the time she met a real lion. And I'm gonna tame this virtual lion. Quack!
Daniel was a guy who was given a lot of power, but what set him apart was that no matter how much power he had, he worshiped God. No matter what. Nothing could stop him from worshiping God, even when it meant spending a night in the dark with hungry lions. What would that have been like? Let's find out.
My name's Wendy Rice. I'm one of the many keepers here at the Cincinnati Zoo, and I'm lucky enough to be the primary caregiver on our lions here.
What does that mean, to be a caregiver for lions?
Mostly it means making sure they get fed enough. That's priority number one. And then cleaning up after them. Just like all animals, anything that eats makes a mess, and somebody's lucky enough to clean up after them, and that's me.
So give me your first reaction to the punishment of spending a night with a lion.
Oh no, a lion! He's gonna eat me! Oh, she wasn't asking me. Bye.
Absolutely terrifying. As much as I love these animals and I understand them and respect them, I can't think of too many things scarier than that. We are incredibly vulnerable, especially if you didn't have any kind of a weapon or anything to defend yourself with. Lions are just massive, powerful animals. Every instinct in them tells them to attack and kill and eat anything around them that may move. So that sounds like a death sentence to me. I would never want to share space with him. I always tell people I can't walk past a buffet of free food without grabbing something, and I am certainly free food to a big, dangerous predator like John. So we just never put ourselves in that situation. There's always a protective barrier between them and us because they are extremely dangerous, so I never share space with them.
My understanding is that these were lions that were hungry, and so that probably means they were being mistreated, right? They weren't being given food, they were being made to be extra ferocious.
Right. So yeah, back in the day, they were probably doing everything wrong in terms of caring for these animals, and the end result was an animal that was fighting for its life every single day, fighting for every meal it had, and would be a very formidable and terrifying animal to encounter, especially for a human who would be perceived as the reason for all of that bad treatment. Yeah.
What would happen if I walked out that door and just put down a sleeping bag and laid down?
I don't think you would survive to nighttime. I don't think you would survive very long at all.
Even if he'd already eaten?
Right. Even if they'd eaten.
May, we lions are always hungry.
They're programmed and wired to never pass up food. It doesn't matter how full your belly is. I mean, if food is available, at the very least, we'll catch it and kill it and hold on to it until we are hungry again. So if you were to walk in there today and try to have any kind of interaction with those cats, even if you just tried to like not be on their radar at all, they would seek you out, they would find you, and they would definitely hurt you and kill you, very, very likely kill you unless someone intervenes.
So then, in the story that we read, Daniel the next day is alive and well, and it says that the lions' mouths were shut. Wow. So what does that, just tell me what your thoughts are on that.
The lion's mouth being shut is a very clear indication to me that that's an animal that's at peace, that all of their needs are met, they're calm, they're in a relaxed state, they feel comforted, and they feel like they have trust with the other animals around them. An animal that's on alert might be walking around, pacing, might have an open mouth, panting. So that body language that you describe makes it very clear that whatever happened between Daniel and those lions that night, and the next morning they were good. Wow, I can't imagine that experience and coming out the other side of it like that, surviving and having a positive experience with those animals. What happens at the end? Does the king let Daniel go, I imagine?
We already know what happens. We saw it in the God story. Daniel trusted God and he was saved when he was thrown in the lion pit. But I want to see that lion again. Where's the rewind button? Oh, I think I may have broken the video. My bad. Hey, look, over there. Huh? What's that? Oh. Hey, Kids Club. Have you been there long? What's that? VT sent you here because he broke the video? Classic VT. Well, I'm glad you're back. I was just playing with the stuffed lion and thinking about ways that God protects us. There may be times when we're uncertain if God will be there, and there are even times when God's protection doesn't look like what we expect. But when we trust God and love Him, He always comes through. Now that you know that God protects us, I challenge you to look around and notice the different ways that God protects you. One way that He protects me is when I travel. I usually say a prayer for God to watch over me as I make it to my destination. God protects me when I sleep so that I can dream and get the rest that I need for the next day. God can also protect me when I'm sick by providing me ways to fight the sickness. There are so many ways that I know that God protects us. You don't have to be stuck in a pit of lions to receive God's protection. You can be here, or even here. But always remember, God protects us. Wait a minute. This isn't John the Lion. Kids Club, huh? Sounds like a fun place.